Hi guys, today it's too hot for anything, so I thought I would read a little bit from this book called Opening the Door of Your Heart and Other Buddhist Tales of Happiness, written by Ajahn Brahm. Gonna start off by reading the introduction. Page 1. The stories in this book have been collected over the 30 years that I have lived as a monk in the forest tradition of Theravada Buddhism. For many centuries, Theravada has been the main vehicle of spirituality for the peoples of Thailand, Burma, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, and Laos. Now this form of Buddhism is growing in the West and in the South as I live in Australia. I am often asked what the difference is between the major strands of Buddhism, Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, and Zen. The answer is that they are like the same type of cake, but each has a different icing. On the outside they may look and taste different, but when you dig deeply into the tradition, you find the same taste, the taste of freedom. There was only one Buddhism in the beginning. The Buddha taught in the northeast India around 2,600 years ago. That's a century before Socrates. He taught not only monks and nuns, but also many thousands of ordinary people, from rice farmers to street sweepers and even prostitutes. The wisdom of Buddha did not come as a revelation from a supernatural being. It arose from the deepest of insights into the true nature of life. The Buddha's teachings came from his heart, opened by deep meditation. As the Buddha famously said, it is in this fathom-long body, endowed with mind, that the beginning and the end of this world are made known. The Buddha's central teaching was the Four Noble Truths. Rearranging them from their usual order, these are 1. Happiness, 2. The cause of happiness, 3. The absence of happiness, 4. The cause for such an absence. The stories in this book revolve around the second noble truth, the cause of happiness. The Buddha would often teach using stories. My teacher, the late Ajahn Chah of northeast Thailand, also taught using stories. After one of Ajahn Chah's discourses, it was the stories I would remember most, especially the funny ones. Moreover, it was these stories that conveyed the deepest instructions about the path to inner happiness. The story was the messenger carrying his teachings. I have also used stories when teaching Buddhism and meditation in Australia, Singapore and Malaysia for more than 20 years, and I have presented some of the best of these stories in this book. The stories are intended to speak for themselves, so I've added minimal commentary. Each one carries many levels of meaning, so the more you read them, the more truths are revealed. May you enjoy these stories of true happiness as much as those who have heard them told, and may they help change your life for the better, just as they have for so many others. Ajahn Brahm. So it looks like, yes, the book is split up into sections. This first one is called Perfection and Guilt. So this first story is called 2 Bad Bricks. After we purchased the land for our monastery in 1983, we were broke. We were in debt. There were no buildings on the land, not even a shed. Those first few weeks we slept on old doors we had bought cheaply from the salvage yard. We raised them on bricks at each corner to lift them off the ground. There were no mattresses, of course. We were forest monks. The abbot had the best door, the flat one. My door was ribbed with a sizable hole in the centre where the door handle would have been. I was glad the doorknob had been removed, but that left a hole in the very centre of my door bed. I joked that now I wouldn't need to get out of the bed to go to the toilet. The cold truth was, however, that the wind would come up through the hole. I didn't sleep much those nights. We were poor monks who needed buildings. We couldn't afford to employ a builder. The materials were expensive enough, so I had to learn how to build, how to prepare the foundations, lay concrete and bricks, erect the roof, put in the plumbing, the whole lot. I'd been a theoretical physicist and high school teacher in lay life, not used to working with my hands. After a few years, I became quite skilled at building, even calling my crew the BBC, Buddhist Building Company. But when I started, it was very difficult. It may look easy to lay a brick, just a dollop of mortar underneath, a little tap here, a little tap there. When I began laying bricks, I'd tap one corner down to make it level, and another corner would go up. So I'd tap that corner down then the brick would move out of line. After I'd nudged it back into line, the first corner would be too high again. You try it. Being a monk, I had patience and as much time as I needed. I made sure every single brick was perfect, no matter how long it took. Eventually, I completed my first brick wall and stood back to admire it. It was only then that I noticed, oh no, I'd missed 2 bricks. All the other bricks were nicely in line, but these 2 were inclined at an angle. They looked terrible. They spoiled the whole wall. They ruined it. By then, the cement mortar was too hard for the bricks to be taken out, so I asked the abbot if I could knock the wall down and start over again, or, even better, blow it up. I'd made a mess of it, and I was very embarrassed. The abbot said no, the wall had to stay. When I showed our first visitors around our fledgling monastery, I always tried to avoid taking them past my brick wall. I hated anyone seeing it. Then, one day, some 3 or 4 months after I finished it, I was walking with a visitor and he saw the wall. "That's a nice wall," he casually remarked. "Sir," I replied in surprise, "have you left your glasses in your car? Are you visually impaired? Can't you see those 2 bad bricks which spoil the whole wall?" What he said next changed my whole view of that wall, of myself and of many other aspects of life. He said, "Yes, I can see those 2 bad bricks, but I can also see the 998 good bricks as well." I was stunned. For the first time in over 3 months, I could see other bricks in that wall, apart from the 2 mistakes. Above, below, to the left and to the right of the bad bricks were good bricks, perfect bricks. Moreover, the perfect bricks were many, many more than the 2 bad bricks. Before, my eyes would focus exclusively on my 2 mistakes. I was blind to everything else. That was why I couldn't bear looking at that wall, or having others see it. That was why I wanted to destroy it. Now that I could see the good bricks, the wall didn't look so bad after all. It was, as the visitor had said, a nice brick wall. It's still there now, 20 years later, but I've forgotten exactly where those bad bricks are. I literally cannot see those mistakes anymore. How many people end a relationship or get divorced because all they can see in their partner are 2 bad bricks? How many of us become depressed or even contemplate suicide because all we can see in ourselves are 2 bad bricks? In truth, there are many, many more good bricks, perfect bricks, above, below, to the left and to the right of the faults. But at times, we just can't see them. Instead, every time we look, our eyes focus exclusively on the mistakes. The mistakes are all we see, and they're all we think are there. So we want to destroy them. And sometimes, sadly, we do destroy our very nice wall. We've all got our 2 bad bricks, but the perfect bricks in each of us are much, much more than the mistakes. Once we see this, things aren't so bad. Not only can we live at peace with ourselves, inclusive of our faults, but we can also enjoy living with a partner. This is bad news for divorce lawyers. but good news for you. I've told this anecdote many times. After one occasion, a builder came up to me and told me a professional secret. We builders always make mistakes, he said, but we tell our client that is an original feature, with no other house in the neighbourhood like it, and then we charge them a couple of $1,000s extra. So the unique features in your house probably started out as mistakes. In the same way, what you might take to be mistakes in yourself, in your partner, or in life in general, can become unique features, enriching your time here once you stop focusing on them exclusively. So, I hope you enjoyed that little story from this book. Ajahn Brahm actually has a Spotify channel where you can listen to his stories, because I've actually listened to this story and I do quite like listening to him